Hi everyone. So 7 minutes is super short, so if you have any comments, feedback or questions at the end, feel free to come at the poster session to ask them. So I'm going to present a work I did last spring with Nicolas Leroux and Vianney. So it's going to be related to what Thorsten presented this morning. It was actually a super great introduction to my talk. So a bit element of context on counterfactual estimators. So in many tech companies now, it became super usual to run A/B tests, online A/B tests, to take informed decisions. So you want to test a new design of your website, or you want to implement a new machine learning algorithm. You can do an A/B test, split your traffic in two parts, and check that your new implementation is better than the other, and that the metric you improved your metrics. However, A/B tests, they have some drawbacks. The first one, they could be risky because you could break your system when you implement a new thing, or they could be expensive if you implement a poor new technology. The second drawback is they are time consuming. So, for instance, at Criteo, they last 14 days. So if you want to iterate quickly and you want to implement a lot of new things, you want to detect poor policies and don't run A/B tests on your poor policies to keep A/B tests for great candidates. So that's why you need offline A/B testing or counterfactual estimators. So in our paper, the setting is the usual setting Thorsten introduced this morning. So it's like contextual bandit setting. You have a state that represents your users, his state of mind or how he's behaving, and you can take some actions. So you can display some ads, you can recommend some products, and you have a reward that depends on the state and the actions. And what you want to do is like to try to predict the performance of a new technology, so what we call p-test, without implementing it online. So you want to use the log data you have that you gathered with your production policy. So the policy you are using in production to interact with your users. And you want to use this data to be able to predict for a new policy how it behaves. So it's the main objectives of counterfactual estimators. So in the literature, you have a lot of estimators. So here is a list. Of course, you have many others. Empirical average is the most basic one that is not used in practice, but that is quite well studied. And you have no clear studies on which one is the best, depending on the properties of your reward functions. So what we were trying to study in the paper is like we care about the mean square error of our estimator. So we want our estimator to predict well the true performance of the policy, and we want lowest MSE possible. And so depending on some properties of your reward, some estimators could be better than the other. So here is like how we try to study the different properties of the estimators. So we try to write them in a common form. So here is for the three basic one. And you can compute the optimal weights that are minimizing the MSE. And so you can compare the weights of the traditional estimators with the optimal one to understand in which case one performs better than the other. And here it was like the graph we were willing to build at the beginning of the study is try to change the property of the reward function and see if in some cases you have estimators that perform better than the other. So here is like three super traditional counterfactual estimators, and here we change the properties of the reward functions, and we see that in some cases you have empirical average that is better than the other. In some other cases, normalized basic importance sampling is better. So it's the first goal of the paper was to try to study these cases and see how the properties of the reward function can change the behavior of counterfactual estimators in terms of MSE. And the second objective was to try to take advantage of the fact that in many tech companies, we are changing the production policy a lot of time. So at Criteo, every 6 hours, we refresh the model based on new data. And so you have in your logs, you have data that were gathered by different policies. And what you want to take into account is that for your counterfactual estimators, you can improve them by just taking into account the fact that you have different production policies that were gathered data. Because like the main intuition is the variance of your counterfactual estimators, they come from the fact that your test policy could be quite far from your production policy at some point. And by taking into account all those policies, you can make sure that the mixture of the production policy is not too far from the new test policy. So it was the second question we tried to address, and we have some theoretical results on it. So if you are interested, come to see me at the poster session. So to conclude, why are we dealing with this topic? So offline estimators are super useful for many companies because it helps to increase the speed of innovation and detecting bad policies. It would help also to improve reinforcement learning algorithms because they are not for the moment sample efficient. They need lot of samples. That's why they are super useful for games. But when we want to apply them in real world application, it's quite difficult because of the number of samples they need in order to be efficient. And having good offline methods could help to use reinforcement learning in some application where you don't have that much of data. And yeah, last point, I would like to recall what Thorsten said this morning. He's organizing a contest at NIPS on some Criteo data, and I hope that at the end of the contest we'll be able to have some good estimators that were proposed, and we'll be able to quite benchmark them thanks to the context. Thank you very much, and if you are interested, please to come to see me at the poster session.